and welcome to Triathlete Development, the video podcast channel that gets to meet triathletes from all around the UK and the world to discover their journey to where they are now and the success that that's brought them. On this week's edition, we'll be talking to Megan McDonald, GB Elite Triathlete. We'll be discussing everything going right back to when she was a youth athlete and how she found developing on the European stage at European Youth Relays. We'll also be discussing sponsorship partners and how to develop an effective partnership with a brand, and also how she became a top 10 finisher at the World Cross Triathlon Championships at just 5 weeks after she dislocated her shoulder. Pretty incredible, don't you think? Stay tuned.
Megan, thanks so much for joining me today on this very sunny afternoon in the UK. I think it's probably going to be one of the warmest days that we've had this week and this year probably. Had a good day?
Yeah, very good day. Been out on my bike. It was a bit too hot, and then just had a little paddle in the pool. So not too bad. Just a nice, easy aerobic day, really. Nice.
How
about you?
Yeah, good. I popped into the sea because we're now allowed to do that officially. And yeah, like you, I went out on my bike and had a little spin and yeah, caught some sun. So it's all good. I think we should probably start on where you started first in sport. Like, what kind of sports were you into originally? When did you kind of pick up triathlon, and where was that for you?
Yeah, so I started swimming like when I can't even remember when I started swimming. Like, I remember doing whips and being like competitive at school level. So yeah, I started swimming first. I did every sport possible at school, and then my sister, so she's 2 years older than me, she went up to secondary school. So I was probably in year 3 or year 4. So I did a little triathlon at the school. And then my great uncle and my dad built a bike that looks like his. And then it all went from there. So.
Oh, wow. So what do you know what age you started triathlon? Did you do like regional series?
I started at 8 years old.
So did you go straight into regional series and around that sort?
Yeah, I think so. So I think like I used to run with my mum and then cycle with. They had to start cycling, so they got bikes. So then I cycled with them and then swam with the local swimming club. So, but mum, like I always ran with my mum. So, but yeah, started at TriStar and then went from there really.
Awesome. So because you have the regional series, sorry. Did you qualify for IRCs at any point, and when was that, if you did?
Yeah, I qualified for IRCs a few, like, oh god, when you first could, I think
TriStar 2 is the earliest.
Yeah, TriStar 2, and then the second year I didn't qualify because I forgot my wetsuit. Well, no, I forgot my wetsuit, so I had to use Sian Rainsey's sister's wetsuit after her race, and then in the rush of things putting her wetsuit on, I forgot to put my number belt on, and then when I got out of the swim, the guy wouldn't let me out of transition because I didn't have my number belt, and he wouldn't let me finish the race. So then I sat in transition crying because I wasn't going to IRCs.
No.
But yeah, I think I came third at IRCs. I think my best was at IRCs.
Nice. Do you remember the venue?
It was a lake, and then it went up a hill.
I think it was Brimback in Wales.
Yeah, probably. There's a skateboard park.
Yes.
Yeah, because we went on that after, and the jumps and stuff. But yeah, that was a good course because there was quite a big hill on the bike.
Yeah, I think I qualified the same year that you did.
I think Sian won, and then it might have been Kate Curran came second, maybe.
I mean, it's actually really, believe it or not, it's really hard to try and find those sorts of results now.
I bet it is.
It is really hard.
I'd have to look back on old pictures, but I definitely know I've got an IRC medal somewhere. It's somewhere now.
So that was kind of your first taste of kind of national level racing.
Yeah.
I think because you don't start the National Super Series until you're youth at the earliest. So 2012, would you have been maybe first year youth?
Yeah, 2012 I was first year youth. I think the first one was the Aquathon, and it was I came third, Sean won, Leah second, and it was like a horrendous day, so rainy. And then there was duathlon champs, and then the other races as well.
Sure. So I think that year was probably quite a highlight year for you, quite a standout year for you in terms of qualify for European Youth Relays for the first time.
Yeah.
Where was the qualification race for that year, and kind of?
That was Hatton, I think.
Was it Hatton?
Yeah. So I'd just been to Thailand for 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. I was in Thailand, so I didn't train that much over there. And then we came back, and Hatton was the weekend after. And my mum was just like, "Oh, just go for it." So went in the swim, and I had like the best swim of my life. Like for a youth race in juniors, like it was Sophie in the race, so you knew it was so cold, so you knew it was going to be a fast swim.
Yeah.
And I came out like next to her, and I was like, "Oh." And then on the bike,
I can swim.
Yeah, there's pictures of us getting off the bike together. It was like claim to fame. But yeah, so and then I just had a really, like, my bike was really strong, and then I ran for my life and qualified in second or third. I think it was Sophie Caldwell, then Kate Curran, and then me, I think, or the other way around, I'm not too sure.
Nice. So you went to European Youth Relays. That was kind of your first time getting a GB tri-suit, so to speak, or a GB vest in that respect. Probably a real special moment for you and your family, I guess.
Definitely. And it was in Aguilas in Spain.
Oh, lovely place.
Yeah, so I've been on training camps there, and then it's just like I literally love it there. So racing there is always special, but yeah, it was a very proud moment putting on the GB kit. Like I was so young as well, being first year youth. Like a lot of people, I think, were quite not annoyed, but they didn't expect me to be there.
I think for those who don't know how European Youth Relays kind of works, you have both years of youth, so 15, 16, and then you have first year juniors as well. So you have the 17 years olds as well. So it's quite a big age range in terms of development for athletes, and also in terms of who your competition is, because some of the first year juniors will have European experience as European Cup races already. Yeah,
so it was a really good experience though. Like I think we were in first until like a bad incident. Well, not a bad incident. Kate had to go back for a shoe on the last run. So it lost us a bit of time, so we came third, but it was still like a good experience.
A podium is a podium, isn't it?
Well, on the podium and stuff. Sorry?
A podium is a podium at the end of the day, isn't it?
Definitely. And it was, such a good experience. And then, after that, I think I had nationals before, I'm not too sure.
So 2013, you qualified for the second time. Was you, because you had been through that qualification period before and you'd been to the championships before, was that something you were maybe more confident about, or you had learned a lot about that kind of whole process and took into that next year?
Yeah, I was a bit more confident, but I knew there was girls that had come up. So there was like Grace and Sophie Alden, I think Liv as well. So there was a few others that I knew that were coming up from TriStar. So it was kind of like the unknown of what was going to happen on the bike. It being a flat bike, it didn't really suit me. It wasn't very technical, being Eton Dorney. But the flat run kind of helped me a little bit as well. But that race was kind of a stay out of jail race. There was a lot of crashes.
Well, Dorney Lake is a rectangle, isn't it, essentially? But they love to put that dodgy little chicane in there, which causes absolute havoc for a deadline straight course that you think would just be pure simple, but it really isn't.
Yeah. So that year, like, a lot of girls crashed. So then after we got onto the run and there wasn't that many girls around me, so I was in first, and then Bronwyn just comes like shooting up behind me like so fast, and then I got a picture behind her like in mid-air, and I was like, oh, that is claim to fame that I even stuck with Bronwyn for like two leg strokes, like not even that, and she just flies past. But yeah, Bronwyn won that, and then I was second, Sophie Alden third. But then obviously because of all the crashes that had happened, I think a lot of parents decided to kind of put their views across, and then 2 teams came out of it because of that, which I found like kind of made it a little bit less special because there's 2 teams. Like the year before there was 3. There was 3 athletes. But that year there was 6 athletes plus 2 reserves. So it didn't feel as special. But then, like when we were there, it was absolutely amazing to have such a big team around us. But yeah, that's racing, I think. So
yeah, I think different years will have different experiences with different people, and I think each experience of those that you had were different and good for different ways. I think if we might come on to it a bit later, but as you get older, the teams do become bigger as you go to major championships and things like that. So I think in some ways it was maybe really good for you to have that mass of athletes there with you.
Yeah.
So that was in Holton, was it, that year, 2013?
Yeah, that was in Holton, yeah. Good sport. They did it differently that year. So you didn't actually like go into, because ours were like such short races, you didn't go off in, like you didn't have 2 separate transitions. You just had the one at the like quarry or lake, and it was just round the straight roads, but the roads were so flat there. But it was such a good event. I was second off, I think. So I had the nice leg. I didn't have to finish it off, and I didn't have to start it, which is always the nice position to be in.
Did you like the bit? Did you have the pontoon that you can run and then dive off?
Yeah.
Did you love that?
Fun. Oh, yeah, but I was a bit scared at one point because one of the French girls, like when they were practicing, like flipped over. And I was like, I can't run too fast.
Don't get too giddy running down there.
Yeah.
So again, you finished third there as a team, which is absolutely brilliant. And then in terms of 2013, I seem to have maybe come across a very good interview from you at Liverpool National Champs.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of your videos online, I think that's probably the most watched one. It's a very good interview for your age as well.
Yeah, so I was quite lucky when I was younger. I was picked up by Sports Aid, and then I was on Jaguar Academy of Sport, and that was like the biggest funding you could get through Sports Aid. So we got £2,000 plus events to go to, and at these events, like you would learn how to be interviewed and how you would act and how to answer questions. So by then I was quite practiced in having interviews. But I keep watching it back and I think, Jesus, Megan, stop talking.
No, I think it's brilliant. I think it really kind of showed your love for the sport and your real understanding of the sport and your real understanding of what you had done that day. I mean, I think was he youth elite still that year?
Yes, that was second national. So that was the year before was Blenheim. So I won that from going away on the bike, and then at Liverpool it was 3 of us on the bike. So it was me, Sophie Alden, and Lizzie, and I kind of just like attacked all the time on the bike, and then on the run it was just me and Lizzie till about a kilometre to go, and then I think Sophie might have overtook her. But yeah, I didn't think I was going to win that, and then it was quite nice to get the two golds as a youth.
I think what's really interesting, even at that young age as a youth, you really understood your strengths and weaknesses when racing. And I think you had a solid swim and you had a solid run, but you knew that your bike was a standout in terms of compared to everyone else in the field. And I think the fact that you were able to really use that to your advantage in almost a Flora Duffy kind of style, even though she wasn't, it is attacking the bike like that and wanting to progress the bike on in bike packs is something that Flora and people like Katie as well, Katie Zafiris, are looking to do in every World Series race. And I mean, they weren't doing that. Well, no one was really doing that at the time that you were racing at that moment.
Yeah.
So for you to have that initiative at that young age, I think really shows your maturity in the sport.
Yeah, I think at that age that I knew my run wasn't where it needed to be. So I knew if I could kind of hurt their legs on the bike, my legs might be a little bit fresher than theirs, because I'm used to hurting them a bit more on the bike at that age. So yeah, I took that to my advantage for sure.
No, that's brilliant. So from 2013 through to 2016, you had, I think, 8 European Cup starts. Got a cheeky little podium in there in a battle out with Kate Curran at Nottingham. I remember watching that. That was a very good race.
That was good, yeah.
Talk me through those kind of years in terms of development for you. Obviously, you had some different injuries going on. Also, was college and university something that you were maybe looking at the time?
Yeah, so I think, so I had my first European Cup. I actually got disqualified for not putting my helmet in the box. That was in France. And then kind of like sixth form was good. I got a few injuries, but yeah, tore my hamstring, I think. And then it was into Nottingham where I performed probably the best I performed when I was that age. Like my transitions were quick, got out off the bike, and then it was a running race, and I kind of hid behind Kate quite a lot on the run where it's quite open at Dorney Lake. Dorney Lakes, not Dorney Lakes, Home Pier Point.
Yeah, Nottingham.
Home Pier Point, yeah.
Yeah, Nottingham, yeah.
And yeah, just like hid behind her, getting out the wind, but she was able to out sprint me. But I was really like.
Oh, did she finish second that day?
Yeah.
Oh.
So the Italian one.
Oh, of course.
I'm
trying to think. Was it Igna Pratt that won it? I'm not sure.
It might have been.
I'm not sure.
Not too sure. But yeah, so I was quite proud of myself that day. And then kind of after that, after that year, I think it was it? Yes, got a stress fracture in 2015.
Yeah, 2015.
So at that age, you did performance assessment, and we did a duathlon, and then on the performance assessment, like week before, we were at a camp, and I'd fallen off my bike and hit my shin. Didn't really think anything of it. Raced, then the next week had a 5K, and my shin was in so much pain. And they just thought, oh, you've got shin splints, it'll be fine, keep going. And then it got to the point where I was cycling and I unclipped. I couldn't unclip out of my feet. No. So then instead of going through England we went private health, and I got a scan. I had a stress fracture. But yeah, I've had 8 European Cups, but I'd never say I performed to the best of my ability.
Yeah, I mean, you had, I think national championships, you always did pretty well in terms of those. You had a fair few top 10 finishes, 7th, 5th, in those sorts of things. And domestically, always very good and up there. And I mean, when you're talking in terms of Great Britain standards, that's still a very high standard of racing. Yeah,
like last year, I would say I raced at a good standard. Like, I applied for European Cups, and according to the policy, I could go to a European Cup. Now, I applied for them, but I didn't get them. So my year was just domestic racing the whole year, because British Triathlon decided that I wasn't going to go to any European Cups. So that was a bit of a blow.
Yeah.
But it kind of pushed me on a little bit. So yeah, but last year was pretty different with dislocating my shoulder. So yeah,
and I think one of the things I just wanted to briefly touch on was what was it like going back to Holton for the European Cup? I think it was a premium cup you got to go to. I think it was 2016 maybe.
Yeah, 2016.
Yeah, was that Olympic or sprint distance for you?
Sprint distance. So yeah, that was a good event. So I was front pack swim, front pack bike, and then it was always just the run. But yeah, it was a very different experience being a premium cup. It was intense, but I enjoyed it a lot. It was just that it was always, because of injuries, it was always my run that would let me down. And
Sure.
that's quite hard being a triathlete, because you need that run. But at the moment, things are picking up. So
that's good. So just quickly going back to your injury, I don't want to dwell on it too much and sound all doom and gloom, but who were those kind of people that really got you through those challenging times? Obviously, when you're not able to do all three sports and you're limited in some aspects in others, it's not an easy time for someone as an athlete.
No, so it was quite hard. So when I was younger and I got my first stress fracture, it was my parents and private health that got me through it. And then when I moved to Loughborough, it was kind of like the squad got me through a lot of injuries. Like I crashed at the velodrome, crashed on a concrete velodrome, had tendinopathy. I had quite a few injuries, twisted my ankle really bad. And then the final one before I left Loughborough was the stress response to my femur. But the athletes supported me more, I'd say. And then and then it was kind of like my parents after that and family. So that's kind of the reason that I wasn't happy, was because I was never competing. And it's quite hard being in a place where all you're doing is sport. I didn't go to Loughborough for uni. I went there to become a better athlete. And when you're with all these athletes and you're not able to train and race, and they're doing really well, which good on them, because they should, because they're in that facility, and you're not able to train or race. And it was just a roller coaster ride for me in Loughborough. It just didn't work. I kept getting injured. So it was the right move to, after my 10 centimetre stress response in my femur in end of 2018, I think, to move home.
No, sometimes it's the hardest decisions to make when you have to make those decisions. Sometimes it's really easy at the time and you look back on it and go, no, that was the right decision. I think the biggest thing is although triathlon is an individual sport, quite often we do have a team and a squad around us in some capacity that gets us through challenging times and challenging days, even just days which are when you're not feeling great. And they're the people that pick you up when you're not feeling awesome on the bike or in the pool or whatever. They get you through that.
I think as well, like when you move away from home, so you're going from being at school to moving away and working and training, I had a lot to learn, and I made some really bad mistakes like the whole way through. And that kind of put me more injury vulnerable as well. And then also like my mindset wasn't the best. So like to have like friends around me, when I moved in with Jodie and had Jodie to like, I learned a lot from living with Jodie and training with her, and Sophie as well, and all of them on the squad. But the training was not for me. But I realised that after being there for 2.5 years, that I didn't really have a consistent run of consistent training. So it was time to leave. But I missed them. I
think in regardless of when you leave a squad and anything, you always miss your people and your friends, and you always do get to catch up with them at certain points in races in the year, which is always great about triathlon.
I get to race them now. They're more competitive now.
So let's move on to 2018, quite an exciting year for you. You did your first Xterra race in Belgium. Talk about that move to kind of cross triathlon, dipping your toe in that sort of area, and the challenges that you face with the training and racing with that. So when I was younger and we used to go like on academy days, we used to go to like Cannock and Sherwood and different places. So I always liked mountain biking, and like was quite all right at it. Like most girls, when we were like 12 or 13, would be terrified, but I was kind of like head on, go down. That I knocked myself out when I was younger one day, mountain biking. So things happen, but I always liked that side of things. I was like, oh, I really want to do Xterra. Like Flora Duffy does it. Like I need to do it. I need to have a go. So I did some like
well, quite a bit of mountain biking before going to Belgium, but I wasn't in like a good fit state. So even though my mountain bike skills were there, it's just I wasn't able to like push the top spots. But it was a really good experience. And then I did some more cross racing, and then did Worlds last year, which wasn't ideal prep really for Worlds.
Hold on one sec. We'll get to that in a sec. I think what's really interesting is that you're still racing almost Olympic distance, aren't you, when you're doing cross triathlon? So it's not a real sprint distance race. Mountain biking is a lot more.
4 hours.
Yeah, it's a lot more demanding. It's a longer period of time you're out there for, especially if it's hot or humid conditions as well, or even cold conditions as well. It's even more challenging. How did you? I mean, for me, mountain biking, I'm not very good. I've not been mountain biking in years, but in terms of like things like fueling and things like that, how did you maybe approach that? And I mean, technical courses are technical courses. Trying to get fuel in whilst on a mountain bike surely isn't easy.
Yeah, so you make sure you get your fuel when you're on like those trail runs that are like, or that little bit of road. So we cycled the course before and made sure that we could fuel when appropriate. Like a lot of people wear backpacks with water in, but I wasn't that prepared. And I had my bottle, and there was refills on the course, so you can grab a bottle. Like unlike normal triathlon where you can grab a cup, you can actually grab a bottle, and I thought it was bizarre.
Yeah. So
like you can grab bottles and gels and things, and even like oranges they were handing out, which is even weirder.
Welcome to the long course world. That's all I'm going to say. It's a bit more long course.
Oranges and chocolate on the course. I was like, this is bizarre. Like on the run, like people just stopping to have their oranges. But no, it was like I absolutely loved it, and it's just like a big party. Well, it's not a party, you're racing, but
there's a massive atmosphere, isn't there?
Yeah, really big atmosphere. And if you finish, you feel so proud because you haven't like injured yourself or anything. And,
I survived.
Yeah, survived it. The 10K run, like you were going up steps and like so steep downhill. And going over rocks. It's just that it just takes your mind off it. So 10K doesn't actually feel like a 10K, even though you're dying inside. But yeah, I do want to do more, but at the moment I'm not allowed. So
okay. So just to recap, really. So we're now at kind of 2018, 2019. 2019. Was able to get a selection for World Cross Triathlon, as you mentioned previously. Talk a little bit about 5 weeks before then, maybe.
So my plan was to do some Xterras before. So I'd literally entered Cyprus, Xterra, looked at the course, was training like specifically for that course. Like there was a lot of gravel up road that I was like going out with Billy, who owns the shop near me, who used to be a downhill mountain biker. So that I was getting in quite a lot of practice, and then did road relays on a Saturday, and then I was going to the Forest of Dean on the Sunday. So I went to the Forest of Dean, and we were doing like step down sections, like the bit where you practice before you go to the main run.
Sure. And
then I just sat on my phone for a bit waiting for the people that I was with, and I was like, oh, just have one go on the jump section, you know, just for fun, like a week before Cyprus. And yeah, I got to the last jump, and my bike is full carbon mountain bike, boosted in the air, and I literally just went flying, landed on my shoulder, and it like popped out. And so then I was like, didn't know where my bike was, and I could feel it. And this woman ran over to me. She was like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, I dislocated my shoulder. You need to put it back into place.
Yes, you're going to be the one to do it.
Yeah. And I was just like, "Can you put it back into place?" She was like, "Oh, I'm a GP, but no, I can't." And I was like, "Oh, please, like, you've got to put it back into place now. Like, the adrenaline's going to start. You've got to put it back into place." she's like, no, I can't do it. And as soon as the adrenaline stopped, like, it was the worst pain of my life. I was sat there for 2 hours on the floor.
I guess because a forest isn't exactly the place that an ambulance sits and waits for people, is it?
No. And when the ambulance arrived, I actually had no clue how I got from the floor to the ambulance because of the gas and air and the morphine.
You must have been a right bundle of joy when that was going on.
Oh, I've got a video in the ambulance. It's I FaceTimed a lot of people. Like, yeah.
It sounds closer to a drunk night out, to be fair.
You know what? Gas and air is amazing. Absolutely amazing. But no, it was very painful. And then, so then that kind of like got put back into place. And I was like, okay, like, she's a miracle worker. I can move it. It's fine. And then kind of 2 days later, there was something not right. And I was like, this isn't right. And I was like, I'm going to have to go see someone because I need to know if I can race worlds or not. So I went to see a specialist in Leamington because parents have private health, and I couldn't like get my hand to my armpit. So
of course, when you're swimming, you need to get it through there, don't you?
Yeah. So this muscle here,
your deltoid.
Deltoid. It had nerve damage, so I couldn't use it. So
nerve damage is nerve damage where you can't feel it or it doesn't activate, or
yeah. So he was like the first test he did, he was like scraping it, and I couldn't feel anything. And then he put a pin in it, and I couldn't feel it. So then they do like nerve tests where they shock you, and they put the pin in, and it should like vibrate from the muscles, like contracting, and nothing was happening. So he was like, okay, you've got severe nerve damage and your dislocation was really bad. So it's highly unlikely you're going to race. And I was like, oh, like how unlikely? And he was like, well, we've got to get your nerve working, and it's up to your nerve if it turns on. So he like gave me exercises, and like I was doing everything in my power to get this nerve turned on. I went swimming, and by gosh, I've never swam so slow for one length in my. I couldn't get my arm out of the water. It didn't hurt. It didn't hurt.
Couldn't move it.
Couldn't move it. So like it literally just, I kept going, and then a week before I went to him, and he was like, okay, you've got movement, you can race. And I had done like 3 swims.
Oh no.
Before. And the swim was meant to be like my strongest point as an Xterra athlete. Like I was quite a strong swimmer in the field. And yeah, I still came out of the water like 3rd. But
that's still pretty decent.
Yeah. Yeah, but being on a bike course after dislocating your shoulder, it's a bit like.
How was your like confidence on your bike handling and stuff, things like that?
It wasn't as good as it could have been. Like, the other pro GB lot were like, oh, your skills have improved loads. But when I went to race it, I was nervous wreck. I was like, because when you're pushing yourself, you're not as focused on, oh, if I crash. But then suddenly, as soon as we got to the downhill section, I was like, if I crash, that's it. Like I've got nationals coming up at the end of the year, and I won't be able to race. So it was kind of a bit mentally hard. But I've been on the mountain bike since, and it's getting better. Like I'm more confident on my mountain bike than I am on my road bike.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I think it's because if you crash on a mountain bike, you crash on dirt. If you crash on a road bike, it's tarmac. So, but yeah, it wasn't the best lead up to Worlds. It was just a great experience.
Yeah. So I was going to say, how was Worlds? Worlds was in Pontevedra?
Yeah.
I'm saying that right, in Spain? Yeah.
Yeah. It was an amazing experience. Like the climb, it was like a mountain bike ride. The run was kind of, everyone was complaining about the run because it wasn't really like an Xterra run. It was more pavement with a little like 1 kilometre off-road section.
Was that their claim that it was off-road because it went marginally off?
A little bit through the forest, but no, it was such a good experience, and I have good athletes that I look up to, and yeah, I wouldn't change the world. And when I'm allowed to mountain bike again after I get some consistent races and training, and then I would definitely go back to. I want to go to Cyprus and a few other Xterra races. So
no, I think because you loved it so much when you did your first Xterra, and you loved doing World Cross and things like that. I think that's definitely something you should really explore more.
Yeah, I think as well it brings on mountain biking. I think if I still want to make it as an Olympic and sprint athlete in world class, but if that doesn't happen, then I will go. That would be the next stage at Xterra and 70.3. I
was going to say, is 70.3 on your radar of things that you might want to give it a go?
Maybe. People keep asking me to do some races this year, but maybe one day.
Who knows? It's quite a long way. And you're still so young, remember, like, although you've been in the sport probably like 15 years ish.
Yeah, long time.
So you've been in the sport a long time, and you still have so many more years ahead of you for sure. What I really excited, I saw on your blog site, I was reading through your blogs earlier today. Can we hear about your trip to Mount Fuji?
Yes.
I mean, it's totally off topic of triathlon, but it just sounds insane.
Oh, did you hear that? Oh, my blinds are making noises.
I can edit it out.
Oh, right, okay, that's good. So Mount Fuji, so it kind of like messed up my season a little bit, but it's once in a lifetime experience. So my dad works for a Japanese company, so his boss is Japanese, and it was his birthday, so all of his companies, the directors go out and their families. So we got the opportunity to go out and walk up Mount Fuji and have a week in Japan. So I wasn't gonna kind of say no to that, but it messed up my season, as in like selection for Europeans and Worlds was like out of the cards because I was away in Japan. But no, Mount Fuji is incredible. Like, it was a two or 3 day trek, 2 day trek up the mountain.
Nice.
And when we got to the top, it's just like, you can't explain it. It's like, as you go up, like the little huts, like how they're getting things to the top, like the crater on the top. I just couldn't believe it. The worst part was walking back down.
All your quads, were your quads on fire?
Well, yeah, and because it's like not sand, like gravelly sand, you just, every foot you were like sliding. And we didn't have like poles, we were just walking, and everyone else had poles. But yeah, it was an amazing experience, that I got so burnt.
Do you think you'll do like more mountain climbing, like Kilimanjaro and things like that? Do you think that's something you want to explore more as like a hobby?
Oh no, I wouldn't do any more.
Didn't enjoy it that much then.
Wow. I think
it was nice. It was nice views, but I don't think I'll do any more.
Yeah. I would, like, if I got given the opportunity, of course I'd go do more mountains. But if someone went to me, oh, go walk up Blarney Bar, I'd be like, like, why? But no.
Why would you want to do that?
I would definitely say, like, if you're going to Japan, it's something to do. Like, it's an amazing experience, like sleeping in the huts and everything. Yeah, it was incredible. And there is actually, I've got a YouTube video of it. So I don't know whether
check it out. Check it out, guys. Check it out. Speaking of YouTube videos, let's move on to your YouTube channel. How long ago did you start it? It's relatively new, isn't it?
Uploading relatively more now, just because I'm not working. I've had it since before I moved to Loughborough, so like 2015, 2016.
You've had a good few years.
Yeah, made some little clips of like going to Mallorca cycling with family and stuff. But yeah, only just recently started talking to the camera and uploading a few things. Just for a little bit of fun, really.
Yeah, have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I do. I really, like, I literally only watch YouTube now. So it's kind of like, oh, I could do a little bit of YouTube, but it's so hard. Like, like people are like, oh, YouTubers have got such an easy job, but they don't. Like they've got to get like be in the footage, make the footage, edit it. Like the amount of hours that go into editing is ridiculous.
I'm a big fan of Eric Lagerstrom and Paula Finley's channel.
Yeah.
Great. They do it every Sunday without fail. It's out.
Yeah.
And I tried doing it. When lockdown happened in the UK, I tried doing a lockdown. This is what I did this week sort of thing. Like I think kind of everyone was on that hype at the moment at that time. And oh my God, it took me forever. And it actually drained me so much I never did the second week. I was just like, right, I can't do it. I quit. I was saying this to Harry Palmer because he releases now 2 videos a week. And I just don't know how people have the time. I mean, I'm quite the perfectionist in terms of I like it a certain way. But I think obviously you get better at editing and you like have banks of music and things like that. Finding music as well. It's a bit of a challenge without getting sued.
So we did our 5K last week on YouTube, and like it's even worse when you have someone that you tell them they're filming you and they cycle 200 meters down the road. How is that filming you? So the footage was like minimum, but then we were that tired after the 5K trying to edit that, and Josh, my boyfriend, did a really good job because he was like, even the music with where it changes and everything, he was trying to get that right, and I was just like, I was falling asleep. But I'm so lucky for him to film and take pictures, because that's what makes my content really like quite good for brands.
What do you use to film it on? What are you filming on?
So at the moment we're filming on my GoPro.
Nice. Which one?
He brought his drone down from home recently.
So jealous you've got a drone there.
I'm not allowed to fly it though.
I can just feature on it, but I can't fly it.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to fly it. I'd break it if I flew it.
They're not cheap by any means, are they?
No, not at all.
One other thing a couple of other things I really wanted to talk to you about. You mentioned your sponsors and partnerships and things in there. I think you've had a really good relationship with companies like Live at Giant, Citizen now more recently, SAS more recently, and now On as well. Just kind of tell us a little bit in terms of what you found makes a really good partnership and what makes a partnership last a long time, because you've been with Live how many years?
So I first signed with Live in I think 2015. So
5. This year, what, fifth year? Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, it's been a long time. So I signed to them when I won my first nationals at youth. That's when I first signed to them, and at that point it was a sponsorship. So it was, I get given a bike, then race results, and like a few social media posts. But then as like years have gone on, social media's changed massively and sponsorships have changed. And I think a few athletes try and find that hard because they're going for more what you're doing on social media than what race results you've got. So I've had to learn, being an athlete, how to become like an influencer, which I don't like the terminology, but it's the way you are a brand. So if you're racing well and you're putting good content out there, like kind of like Lucy Charles, like she's posting every day on Instagram, like her brand is massive. So like I think that's what brands like. But with Liv, like it was very much I grew up with them. They've seen me go through quite a lot, and then when they decided to start this ambassador role with Liv, then I've had to learn how to become like an influencer, and Liv have really helped my social media side. So I've learned quite a lot from their other ambassadors and how to portray it. But I think you shouldn't work with a company if you don't like their products. I don't believe in working for a company just because they're going to give you free stuff. Like you should work with a company because you like what you're getting and what you're racing on. So with Liv, like I would say I'm racing on probably the fastest women's specific aero bike on the market. And like, I'm so lucky to have that partnership. So the more I can do on social media, it helps me keep that partnership, and it keeps them happy.
I think because you love the products and you love the brand and you love what you're riding so much, that obviously really helps in terms of promoting it, because you're just saying what you feel. It's what comes naturally. And I think you do that really, really well. And I think they're really lucky to have you as an ambassador for them and all the other brands that you're working with. You do it so well, and you do it really consistently as well. And I think you represent what a brand stands for, but also what you stand for. And
I think as well, a lot of, like, when you're younger, you get caught up, I'm going to get free stuff.
It's all exciting, isn't it?
Free stuff. But for me, it's more like they're putting their trust in you. They're giving you stuff. You've got to give something back. So it's what, like, if you're going to go to a brand, you don't say, oh, can I have this? You say what you can do for them, because that's what they want to know, what you can do for them. And
how can you make their company better?
Yeah. So like with Liv, I do, like, I've got to get used to it, but I've done like ride outs. I go and take women that aren't as confident on rides, on bike rides, I do events. So I'm also giving back to them, because they've given me an amazing bike to race on. Why wouldn't I promote women cycling? I was really lucky with Science and Sport. They approached me through Instagram, so that was because of my Instagram page. But that partnership the ambassador program is very good. So we get supported quite a lot, and it's made me learn quite a lot about nutrition as well.
No, that's brilliant. And I think it also, like, if brands are then approaching you, that tells a lot to yourself that you're doing something right. And you're doing, not like, obviously when you're working with just a couple of brands, you're in that very much bubble of yourself and those brands. But when other brands are seeing what you're doing and liking it, you're doing something really, really special.
Yeah. And then with On It, I approached them, and then the partnership went from there. So I'm only recently, it was the start of this year with On, and I really love the shoes and the products. So I'm hopefully that will continue next year, but we'll see. The year contract, so.
Oh, super. I mean, kudos to you, because it's not easy getting support from brands by any stretch, and you made it work really, really well. Just a final kind of point that I really want to kind of touch on with you is you started coaching. I had a quick look at all the qualifications you have, all of them under the sun. You have your level 2 BTF coach, you have your swim coach, your spin cycling, literally you name it, Meg's got it, plus all the experience that we've talked about today. So tell us a little bit more about, like, what sorts of people you've been coaching or plan to coach, and what made you want to get into coaching.
So when I left school, like, you obviously look at university or coaching. So when I was looking at uni, I was looking at like sports science, and everything in sports science, I was looking at the coaching side. And it's kind of like, why am I going to uni? Like, I'm dyslexic, so like uni would have been really hard. But so yeah, I was looking at doing coaching. So when I moved to Loughborough, as soon as I could get on the coaching courses, I did. So I've had them quite a while, and then I already done my swim teaching quite young. So I was already swim teaching. That's how I earn most of my money. And then did my gym instructing and spin class. That was the last thing I've done. So then, I started coaching. So I only coached a small few number of athletes, and then I've been helping out with the England talent squad. So I've been on a few of their camps and coached there as well. But yeah, I'm working with Olympic and sprint distance athletes. I would like to coach like 70.3 or long distance. I think that would be a nice challenge. But it would be someone like taking a risk, having someone that is as young as me coach them at that distance. But obviously, sprint and Olympic distance is especially, and then I also do swim analysis for younger athletes at my local pool. So
that's awesome. So are you still taking on more athletes at the moment, or?
Yeah, looking for more athletes at the moment. I am working as a swim teacher and a lifeguard as well, but I'm trying to change that and just be a triathlon specific coach, because that's what I love. Like, I think my athletes at the moment are doing really well, and hopefully they'll keep progressing with the right training for them. Because I think, like, a lot of people go online and they get an online plan and they pay 50 quid a month for this online plan, and it's a generic plan for every athlete out there. And so yeah, I prefer a more specific plan. Like, I speak to my athletes every week. So
no, that's awesome.
Nice.
And where do they just contact you via social media, or?
Yeah, social media, or my email, which is on my blog. We're trying to get a website sorted. I'm in contact with getting a new logo and website sorted. So hopefully before the end of next month, that will all be sorted.
That's awesome. Look, Megan, this has been really, really good fun chatting with you. We've learned so much about, in terms of your career, your injuries, your sponsorships, your YouTube and everything. So no, thanks so much for joining, and thanks very much for your time today.